Hello, hello, and welcome to At the Table with Pure. We are your hosts, Stephanie Outen and Ereka Thomas. And today's episode of At the Table with Pure is all about blending personalities, skills, identities in partnership. So, this is going to be an interesting conversation between Ereka and I, and we just look forward to what gets revealed to us. All right, let's talk about this. So, Ereka, one of the things that we've been talking about and we've been hearing a lot is about how you and I, we are so different, yet we are so alike in so many different ways, and how that really does bode well for us as business partners. And so, when you think about some of the skills, your identity, your mantle, the things that you bring into partnership, what would you highlight as some of your unique skill sets that might be different from what I bring to the table?
So it's interesting to look at it from that perspective. One, I had to get to the place where I understood what my actual skills were and my strengths because they're different. So when we first kind of came on the scene together, I was the designer and you were the publisher, and that was my skill set, creative, and you were structured in publishing and different things of that nature. And I think about when we were in college and how we had these same kind of personalities in a sense, but they always meshed together. I would be like all over here, and then you'd be like, okay, go back here. Go back. Come back.
Erika always had squirrel brain.
It's like, what are you doing? But I just always remember, I always remember pushing you to the front. I was like, okay, Stephanie's the natural leader. And that's because I didn't recognize myself as a leader. So when we got to this place where we were coming together for partnership, there was still some of that residue left over. And I realized, and even God had to show me that, no, you are a leader. You lead beside Stephanie. You don't fall behind her. And I think that helped me to come more into my own. So now, not only am I creative, but I'm owning the leadership. And I feel it allowed our strengths to combine, especially when it came to strategizing. I can see things abstractly, and I can see things that a person is saying, and it could be like over the top or over here. And then you can see things and bring it all together. And I'm like, oh, that's so good. Or vice versa. Sometimes you are able to see beyond what we're talking about and see the future and come up with all these great ideas. And then the way that my brain works, I'm a puzzle piece person and I put things together. So I'll be like, okay, maybe we can bring that around. So I think those are things that were highlighted to me that were strengths that I didn't know I had until they were complemented by what you were bringing.
That's good. As we were thinking about different topics that we wanted to share and thinking about this in particular, blending our personalities and our skill sets and just coming into knowing who we are, it's true that even in college, we were still discovering who God was calling us to be. And it's funny you say how you pushed me to the front. So, thinking I was a natural leader. And I never saw myself as a natural leader. I just kind of always got thrust into that type of position, right? And so I adopted that and just kind of took that on. Like I didn't want to be in the front, right? And I actually had a prophet at church come to me one time and she says, you just don't know who you are yet. Why are you always in the cut? Why do you always stay in the background? Because God was calling me to the front, to the forefront. And even just in business and you and I working together, coming into the fullness of who God is calling us to be and what our mantles are, and really owning that and really looking at it and saying, you know what? I know I am strong And that's one of the things as women in business, we have to really be able to start doing a strengths assessment and an areas of opportunity assessment, right? To say, hey, Ereka, I know I'm strong in developing content. I know that I write well. I know that I speak well. I know X, Y, and Z, whatever it might be. And for Ereka to be able to come and say, okay, well, you know what? I'm good at those things, but they're not my strong point. Not really the things I like to focus on. I really like the creative space, the technology, the, innovation. And I could say I like those too, but not really my strong suit. So you know what, Ereka? When it comes to the things that we're doing, let's highlight what is important to us and where we do well, right? And so I think we've done a great job at that. And as women in business, especially in partnership, it's important to do that type of assessment. It's important to know what you bring to the table so that you don't overburden each other trying to have the other person do something they don't even like to do. So yeah, what are your thoughts on that, Ereka?
I definitely agree because you and I did some, I'm gonna call them life building kind of courses together. And there was this one course that we took together called Identity and Destiny, where we had the opportunity to take some personality tests and different things like that from a spiritual perspective. But it allowed me as an individual to get to a place where I realize certain things about me. Because one of the things that I'm learning about when it comes to being identified, especially when we allow God to identify us, a lot of things have been who we have been or who we be, as my mentor would kind of say, from birth. Like there are things in our lives that we've discovered about ourselves. Taking those tests allowed me individually to have clarity on some things and really to confirm them. So it wasn't so much as they define you, because only God can really define who he created you to be, but they added some clarity and some confirmation that helped me to be solid in that. And then when I look at what your results were, it was like, oh, okay, I can see why God matched us. So now with that understanding, it's like, I don't go to your lane and you don't come to my lane. But I think it adds for efficiency that when instead of focusing so much on the limitations, you focus on the strengths and you highlight in that area. And then it allows us to be pushed. Like, first of all, because I wear the technology hat, I take on everything related to technology. So when it was like, okay, we're going to do this podcast, it's like, all right, Ereka, I'm going to need to set this out now.
Yep.
Because from your perspective, it's like you trying to figure it out would be a lot of time spent. It's not that you couldn't.
You all would just not be seeing us right now as quickly if I had to do it, because I would have been like, Jesus, Holy Spirit, and everybody in the heavens, I need some help. And I would have been toiling, right? I would have been toiling. But God knew that Ereka had the gifting to be able to do this and do it quickly. So he was like, Ereka, go on, girl. Go do what you do best.
Yeah.
And Stephanie, go sit down in your lane.
Yeah.
You can write all the content.
You write all the content. And I think it's important to understand that God wants you to be solid in who you are first. And I realized that that's when he allowed me to partner with someone else. Because remember, Stephanie and I have known each other for years. And it never went down like that because I was pushing her to the forefront, like, no, Stephanie, you do it. And I probably would have allowed her to do that or shrunk back instead of showing up in my full self. Like, it's important. I wouldn't have took on the challenge of editing and producing this podcast to be able to acquire new skills, because I would be like, oh my gosh, I'm going to mess up or something like that. So it's so important to First, allow God to identify you. And then you can use tests and assessments and different things like that to help you refine it and confirm some things and explore your lane. Explore what God is showing you in that. Now, Stephanie can attest to this. It wasn't like, peanut butter and jelly all the time. It didn't come together quite as lovely all the time. There were some things that we had to work out and refine and different things like that. And it wasn't all the time that I was always the creative. There's times when Stephanie works on, depending on the time, she'll work on posts and different things like that, because some of that stuff takes time. And then sometimes we get into a place where if I can do certain things, like I think I wrote an email one time and I just needed Stephanie to just let me know if I got the green light. But I wanted to at least try that so everything wasn't on her. And she did the same thing with like creating a post. It was like, "Come on, Stephanie with the designs." And I was able to give her some feedback and we were good.
Yes. And I was proud of myself. I was proud of myself with the graphics that I created. I'm like, this looks pretty nice, It would have looked better if Ereka did it, but I'm gonna try because she's busy, right? Just like when I was busy, she did the emails, and her emails were fantastic. So we know God has we know what's in us. We know we can do it, right? But we know that we can rely on each other to use our giftings to the highest level, because it allows us to be more effective and more successful in business. So even thinking about it from a business perspective, when it's time to strategize, we come together and we come with one mind. We come with one mind. We allow ourselves to really sit still and hear from the heavens what God wants us to do in business, what our business Pure Solutions and Consulting was created to do in the earth. So when we hear those things and we can come together and strategically partner together to be able to release those things into the earth. But we then have to kind of separate things out and say, okay, in this, like we just did a 3-day masterclass, Purpose for Partnership. And even in that, it's like, okay, Ereka, what are the components that you'll be able to work on? What do I need to be working on? Right. So that we're each doing them maybe at separate times or in tandem with each other. But when it comes together, it's going to be explosive. And that's what happened. And it was so exciting to see this thing come together as quickly as it did, because we kind of moved quickly when we saw that there was a need for something like this. And so just to know that God will do that in your business and in your partnership to bring you together with someone that's going to say, hey, we got this. We have the idea, right? Here's the components that go into this idea. Here's what I need you to focus on. Here's what I'm going to focus on. We'll come back together and we'll look at it in totality, right? And then to see the end result of it come out in just a way that you just never would have imagined, it feels so good. And so as women in business and women who desire to be purpose for partnership, we just want you to start thinking about those things that are your strengths. I don't really like to say weaknesses, even though, sometimes, yeah, it is a weakness, but it's an area of opportunity for you to improve, right? So what are your strengths? What are your areas of opportunity to improve? Do an assessment with each other. Ereka and I had to sit down and be like, well, girl, look, I'm not good at this. I'm not, that's just not my strong point. And here's where I would need your help, but I could take on the majority of this because I know where I'm strong. And Ereka could say, all right, Stephanie, look, I know that I'm gifted to do this. These are my skills that I bring to the table. And here's where I might need some support from you. But we talk about those things. So we know that the other person is not going to be overwhelmed and overburdened because it's a partnership. So some days the partnership is not always 50-50, right? Sometimes it might be that Ereka has to do 100% because we both have individual businesses as well. And Ereka might be like, Stephanie, this week I got a lot of stuff I need to work on. So I need you to kind of 100% take on Pure Solution stuff. And the next week it might be, Ereka, I need you to take on 100% because I got to focus on this other stuff over here. But we know we can do that because we supported each other enough in our giftings as well to be able to handle it. So when you think about those assessments, Ereka, and being able to come to the table with your partner, what are some of the things that you would encourage the listeners to do as it relates to the assessment, identifying your skills, your personality traits, and things of that nature? What would you share with the listeners?
I would definitely say to take heed to what it is that God reveals to you in those assessments. Also sit with him regarding it. And even from a perspective of a person who has not yet found their purpose partner, or are even in a position where God is showing them a vision and they're like, Lord, I know that I'm going to need help. I think it's important to understand, one, that that purpose, that vision is God's. It is his, and you are a steward over it. So allowing that to play out reveals, okay, I know that I'm challenged in this area. And that could be a tell talk, what is it? Telltale sign?
Telltales, yeah, telltale style. So,
No,
oh no, I'm
I
that's up
use
too.
I use words, and then I'm like, I think it goes there, but it sounds good. So but you know what I'm talking about. That is a sign that that person, somebody that has those skills may be who God is calling you to partner with in this season or for however long. But understanding that, and it, like, hear my heart when I say allow Holy Spirit to lead you in that. Because I know I was at a place once before where fear caused me to desire partnership because I was afraid of taking certain steps alone. So when I did partner, it wasn't from a perspective of, okay, this is a strength that I need, that I'm challenged in. It was a fear of operating in that space or disqualifying the God in me to be able to do the things that he's called me to do, and to trust that if he gives me this assignment, that he's going to equip me. Because that's what sometimes we disqualify ourselves and we say, hey, I don't have skills in this area, but God is specifically speaking to you that this is for you. And it's important to understand that, because when you link up with your purpose partner, with your purpose partner, you can move exponentially into what it is that God is calling you to do because you're in alignment. And when I kind of stepped out of alignment and partner with someone who God hadn't really told me to partner with, it was very destructive for me. It was me almost being consumed by someone else's vision and not allowing God to show me what is the vision that he specifically had for me. So
Mhm.
I would give that advice.
Um, yeah, and she would stick a pin in that, because that right there was good. That was good, girl. That was good.
That is,
Let me tell you
I
something.
felt that. I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
look, I felt that over here too. I was like, "Wait a minute, she's stirring something up in here." Mm, yeah, that fear thing, that's so real, and that's actually gonna be another topic that we talk about, right? Dispelling fear in partnerships, but taking it from this particular perspective of when you know that you are each kind of designed in a different way and have those different strengths and areas of opportunity to improve. What you said was you got into partnership really for fear that you weren't qualified. So you latched onto something else that someone else was doing. And then you were like, "Oh my God, like, what is this?" Right? And we don't have to go into any details about when you said it was destructive, right? We don't need to know what happened specifically, but we just know that it truly was not purposed by God, right? But when you are in purposed partnership, purpose business partnerships, purpose relationships, you have to go in, just like Erica said, knowing that when God calls you, he qualifies you. So if he said, look, you two are going to go out there and take territory in this space over here when it comes to women in business and partnerships, mm, we had to say, okay, God, we step into that with no fear. Okay. We step into that with humble hearts. We step into that knowing who you have called each of us to be and what you have qualified us to do. So we won't go into this with fear. And Ereka's not going to push Stephanie to the front without Stephanie pushing Ereka to the front. We're going to feed off of each other because we feed from the spirit first. And so we're going to allow ourselves to walk in lockstep, hand in hand, and go into this thing together without fear because God has given us the same vision, right? Ereka didn't have to latch on to my vision. I didn't have to latch on to Ereka's vision. God downloaded the same vision to us. And so because he did that, we knew that we could do this thing together without fear, right? Without limitations. So as a woman in business, you have to know that if God says this is what you're supposed to do, you can do that thing without fear because he has given you every tool and resource that you need to be able to do it with success. And he's going to line you up with that purpose partner. He's going to line you up with those resources, right? He's going to blow in like the wind. He's going to blow those people in that are going to support you in the process. But you got to make sure you're hearing from him on who those people are, because he's not going to bring somebody who's exactly like you. Ereka, if you and I were exactly alike, we probably would tear each other apart.
I don't know why you deal with me, but I know I wouldn't want to deal with me. That's what I'm going to say.
Look, I'm going to always deal with you, girl. You my girl. You my BB. Okay? You my BB. That's my business bae right there. So I'm going to always deal with you. But he's not going to bring, and he's not even going to bring someone that's so significantly different from you that you can't even find a way to work together. You're going to have some similarities, right? When I said Ereka had squirrel brain, yeah, Stephanie got that too. I got squirrel brain, and I will be like, "Ooh, Ereka," and we're all over the place. But then God always brings us back to that vision, and so you want to be really purposeful and intentional, right, in these partnerships. To know that when God brings your purpose partner, when he brings that person into business with you, that he's going to give you all one mind, different personalities. He's going to give you one vision, different skill sets. He's going to give you one idea, different identities around how to bring that idea together, because that's what it looks like in partnership, purpose partnership in business. And you'll even hear us always talk about partnership being a marriage, because he does that even in marriage. He does that in every relationship that we're a part of if we're intentional to see it and hear it. And so we're not going to be long today. We just wanted to really kind of talk about this whole topic of having blended skill sets, blended personalities, blended identities in partnership, and how it can really lead you to a high level of success if you allow the other person to be who they need to be, you be who you need to be, and then y'all be who y'all need to be together.
Exactly. That's perfect.
All right.
That's perfect. I just appreciate you guys checking us out and just rocking with us. Man, we have heard so many amazing testimonies of life-changing moments in people's lives. When my mentor always says, listen out of both of your ears when we listen to information. And basically that means listen with your natural ear and your spiritual ear. And there are some people that have given us testimonies about even listening to episodes of this podcast that have gone beyond just business, beyond partnerships in business. It's including life and different situations, marriages. I'm like, wait a minute, we get rid of advice on marriages? Who does that? But that is the beauty of the Spirit of God and how he moves. So we just want to thank you all for rocking with us and continuing to rock with us. We have no clue the expanse of what God is doing through this podcast, through this platform, through this partnership with Stephanie and I. He gives us insight, but he knows me over here. It's like, don't show her too much because she's a flight risk. I am a flight risk. Thank you, Jesus.
We have a runner. We got a runner. We're going out into this. We got a runner.
So yes, thank you all. And we look forward to sharing with you in future episodes. And we have some amazing interviews coming up. So be on the lookout. We are launching our Purpose for Partnership community soon, so be on the lookout for that. That is where women can come together and just network, and you can find your business bay in there. You can just learn what it means to partnership. We're doing classes. We're having all kind of stuff. So we just want you to be on the lookout. You can always go to purposeforpartnership.com and sign up for whatever's going on. We're going to create a mailing list just to keep you all informed of what we're doing. And it's going to be an amazing journey. So you need to be on this journey with us. We have no clue where it's going, but we know that it's going far. So join us next time.